While the Predator franchise is breaking box office records, the Xenomorphs have no intention of yielding and are literally stepping on their heels. Just the other day, it was announced that the series Alien Earth has been officially renewed for a second season. The project lead signed a multi-year contract with the studio, and the sequel to Romulus is actively preparing for filming. In the next few minutes, we will sort out everything happening with the Yautja's main enemies and when to finally expect a crossover. Get comfortable, because it will be interesting as always. And we will start with the fact that Disney has finally announced that Alien Earth is renewed for a second season. In case anyone forgot, the Studio FX, which released the series, belongs to this media corporation. Therefore, strategic decisions on what to shoot and how to shoot are made precisely at Disney's headquarters. Noah Hawley's experimental project was renewed 2 months after the end of the first season. For many, this was the first signal because highly successful projects are usually given second and third seasons immediately after test screenings. But here, it was impossible to predict in advance how the audience would perceive the expansion of the Alien universe. If we look at the final ratings, then aside from the critic score, which was inflated for understandable reasons, viewers rated the series as average. Longtime fans were unhappy with the change in canon, the loss of atmosphere, and the shift towards problems of human identity. Plus, not everyone liked the idea of transferring a child's consciousness into an adult's body. At least not within a franchise that is built on aliens bursting out of people's chests. However, against the backdrop of a huge number of frankly mediocre projects, Alien Earth feels quite confident. The series is praised especially by new viewers who had not heard much about xenomorphs and tuned in to watch science fiction. Be that as it may, the news of the renewal came as a relief to those who like this series. The renewal announcement also mentions that filming for the second season will begin sometime in 2026 in London. That is, production will move completely from Thailand to the capital of England. Here, one can assume that since filming on island locations is no longer needed, the plot will change direction. The story will stop developing only on the island and will move to an urban area where there are more people, and one can create panic like in the skyscraper in the first episode. However, no one canceled the use of green screens, and perhaps production in London will simply be cheaper. Here, we will have to wait for a brief description of the second season to say more precisely. The filming date means that the second season will be released no earlier than 2027 or even later. Right now, it is unknown exactly when production will begin, but in any case, it will take about a year for editing and subsequent advertising, so even the year 2027 sounds quite optimistic. Also interesting is that it became known that Noah Hawley signed a contract with Disney not for 1 season and not even for 2. The agreement includes a clause that essentially makes the project lead the main curator within the Alien universe. He will not only continue to shoot his series, but will also head the direction for expanding the franchise. Apparently, the executives at FX and Disney believe in the director very much, since they gave him the opportunity to curate future projects, which will presumably also be series. In other words, besides the series Alien Earth, we can also expect new experiments. Furthermore, Noah Hawley's position will allow cutting production costs and writing the plot for several seasons at once and then filming them. Thus, the gap between the following seasons will be noticeably smaller, and if desired, could be a year rather than the already habitual 2 to 3 years. As for the plot, it is currently confirmed that it will continue the story of Wendy and her synthetic friends, that is, advanced androids. We will find out how they handled the arriving Weyland-Yutani forces, and what will become of the Prodigy Corporation after the arrest of its head. Besides this, the series has a chance to get closer to the events of the original Alien and become its full-fledged prequel. Let us recall that Noah Hawley previously mentioned that he wants to show how and why the corporation sent the ship Nostromo to planet LV-426. Thus, the series will provide more context for the original film and explain certain management decisions. In a broader sense, Alien Earth intends to continue telling stories about xenomorphs, expanding the understanding of their physiology and nature. This point is quite controversial because, according to general opinion, the terrifying aliens became tame pets in the series. At the same time, other invasive creatures were practically not revealed, with the exception perhaps of the Oculus, which even entered into a one-on-one fight with a xenomorph. One way or another, the continuation is happening, but other projects may bring quite a few surprises. The fact is that Dan Trachtenberg does not intend to say goodbye to Predators just yet. The director of the last 3 projects about the alien hunters revealed that he has an idea for a 4th one. and that all the previous ones led specifically to it. At the moment, the future of the Yautja in movie theaters is still undefined, but since Aliens will be developing on television screens, why shouldn't Predator give it a try? Disney is famous for its controversial decisions, due to which it often suffers losses and receives a flurry of criticism. However, the media corporation does not wish to invest in series even about little-known and unpopular heroes. What is there to say about Predator, which has both a large fan base and a crossover with Alien begging to happen? Moreover, Fede Alvarez said that he would be open to directing such a project, and a shared universe has been confirmed. And if films cannot recoup investments in production and advertising, then why not go down the path of series? Those who watched the last film about Predator attentively surely noticed that in the ending of the picture, when Weyland-Yutani was preparing for departure, we were shown its base. Various samples of deadly creatures from this planet were collected in containers, among which was Kalisk, and implying Deck himself should be there. That is, the corporation was collecting samples for its research doing exactly the same thing as in the series Alien Earth, and the containers themselves look similar to those used in the series. Considering that Noah Hawley signed a multi-year contract, it is not excluded that a crossover will happen specifically within the framework of television, or Predator will get its own series altogether. But while passions and rumors around the series are boiling, preparation for filming the sequel to Alien Romulus is in full swing. Let us recall that Fede Alvarez this time will act as screenwriter and producer on the film. Instead of himself, he promised to select a worthy director who can bring the idea to life. And since the script for the sequel is already ready, work is being conducted on storyboards and the design of ships and new locations. Some of them were already presented at an exhibition in California. Judging by them, part of the action will also unfold in a human colony on one of the planets and will not take place only on a ship. Thus, it will be possible to avoid repeating the plot of Romulus and manage to expand in the sequel. Alvarez also explained that it is important for him to preserve the continuity of characters, and he does not strive to kill everyone indiscriminately. And that means we can count on the heroes of Romulus definitely returning in the sequel and even surviving it. In a way, this is exactly continuity in the face of recurring characters, as it was with Ripley in the original films. However, the candidacy of the new director who will shoot the sequel to Romulus gives no rest, and here, a very curious option appeared just at the right time. The fact is that recently, Sigourney Weaver revealed new details about the 5th numbered film about aliens. In the year 2015, the actress expressed interest in returning to the role of Ripley in Neil Blomkamp's film. He was supposed to shoot a full-fledged continuation of the series. However, back then, the 5th film was cancelled in favor of Ridley Scott's prequel, but the project did not die. And in the year 2020, a reworked script of the unreleased film was shown, which was written by the producers of the original Alien. On the 7th of November, a screening of the first film of the franchise took place in Paris, after which Sigourney Weaver told a lot of interesting things. For example, that the 5th film was supposed to ignore the events of the 3rd and bring back Ripley and Newt. The rework of the year 20 was indeed considered for some time, and 2 years ago, it almost reached production. However, the decision was made in favor of Alien Romulus. And if we look even a little earlier, the script for the 5th film was written by a young Joss Whedon. The actions were supposed to take place on Earth, but back then, the idea was rejected, and Weaver herself did not want to come down from space. Over time, her opinion changed, and she expressed readiness to return to the franchise even now. She also noted that she admires the series Alien Earth, calling it a bold experiment that brings a lot of new things. Despite the fact that the 5th film never came out, and the repeated attempt to restore it was unsuccessful, Neil Blomkamp is still open for work. The director gave us the atmospheric film District 9, and his latest project was the screen adaptation of Gran Turismo. Now he is engaged in the sci-fi The Gone World, which does not yet have even a brief plot description. Thus, he can more than afford to fit work in the Alien universe into his schedule, especially since the director has repeatedly stated his love for the franchise and regrets that he could not shoot the 5th numbered part. Personally, this candidacy seems very convincing to us, and we would watch his version of Aliens with pleasure. As you can see, Xenomorphs and Yautja are feeling better than ever. Film, series, animation, comics, there are a lot of projects and they all differ from each other. But the main thing is that all this creates ground for a grandiose crossover, which is literally already hanging in the air. The question is only how and when it will happen. We suggest speculating about this in the comments. Will Noah Hawley decide to introduce the Predator into the series, or is such a meeting possible only in the cinema? And how do you like the candidacy of Neil Blomkamp for the role of director of the sequel to Romulus? That is all for today, friends. See you in new videos very soon.